friends, it's Wonderboy. Welcome back to the channel. After a few months of client work, I've been wanting to go back to my personal projects, and especially one big love I have, the Brutalist architecture. I've been actually working on a small architecture game since July, and I want to document it on this channel, so stay tuned for that. While doing this big project, I was thinking that beginners can get really intimidated by Unreal Engine, especially in the beginning. You know, you have amazing ideas, but you start too big, and then you lose momentum, and the project finish in the cemetery of abandoned projects. That's why today I want to build a minimal architecture space with you guys, from A to Z. A calm architecture space inspired by this picture. And on the way I'm gonna show you my full efficient workflow to lead this kind of scenes from scratch. So for this first tutorial we're gonna focus on Unreal Engine. I often use Blender a lot, but in this case we're gonna stay in Unreal. If you're interested in learning Blender also for architecture, RGBs and creating small objects, let me know in the comments below. Alright, let's go! Alright guys, so the first thing we want to do is create our Unreal Engine project. So after opening the launcher and making sure you have the last Unreal Engine 5.6, you can click on Launch. Once it's loaded, I recommend going to the Architecture section and choosing the blank project. Then you choose the location and the project name. The project name has to be less than 20 characters. Then I clicked on Create. Let it compile its shaders. Once it's open, we're gonna make sure all Lumen stuff is enabled. So let's go to Edit, Project Settings. In Project Settings, we're gonna type Lumen. And here we can see everything is enabled. Global illumination, reflections, and Lumen here is enabled. If you have a ray tracing graphic card, you can check this box. If you have a really good graphic card, you can type reflection, and then put 4096 here. So we have some 4K reflections in Lumen. But staying in 2K is good too. And that's all we need for now. Then what we can do is add a third person character so we can actually walk in our level. So let's click on Add here, Add Feature or Content Pack, and we're gonna choose third person. Add to project. You can see it added the folders. We can close this. Then go to third person, blueprints, drag and drop the third person character in our scene. Then once it's selected, we can go down into its detail. Here in the bottom, you're gonna choose player 0 in auto process player. So now you can play with the character. Oh, by the way, we can delete the player start here. Of course, save your level because Unreal crashes pretty often. So I'm gonna do save current level. Since it's new, it's never been saved. I'm gonna create a new level, so I'm gonna do a new folder, and I'm gonna call it levels, and then I'm gonna call it YouTube 001. Okay, let's go. One small thing I like to do when I start a new project is give the folders colors so I can see it straight. Because right now there is not many folders, but when you go on with importing meshes and kits and kitbashes from the marketplace, there are gonna be a lot of folders and you're gonna get pretty much lost quickly. I want to give a yellow color to the levels because there is a file system in Unreal, like levels are yellow, orange, meshes are blue, sequencer is pink for example, materials is green, so I like to respect that. Okay guys, here's the reference of the scene we're gonna create. So I found this image on Pinterest. I think it's not AI, it's a real advertisement for Porsche. So we have some really nice Brutalist environment here, and I really love Brutalist architecture and how minimal it looks. I love also the light and shadows plays. And I want to show you, brothers, with this small tutorial that a scene in Unreal can be quite easy to make. I know Unreal can be quite hard to learn, especially in the beginning. The learning curve is steep, but I want to show you that it's not always the case. With the right technique and the right organization, you can really learn Unreal pretty quickly and easily. So let's jump in. To make things really easy for you to learn Unreal today, I created a pack for you. I created a free architecture Kitbashed pack, so you can just drag and drop the things in the scene. So I'm gonna show you the pack I did. I created it in Blender. It's very simple. There is no related textures, but we're gonna use Quixel Materials, so we can basically use any concrete textures we want. Here we go. I created some modules, wall modules, pillars, and floors. In the walls modules there is large ones and 3 half-size ones. The pillars have many different shapes and the floor are from minimal to have a bit of details there. We're gonna try many of them because I don't know exactly which one is gonna be the most adapted to recreate our scene. But it's gonna look great. Keep going, brothers. And I wanted to make it diversified enough so you can reuse it in another project. There is many different shapes of pillars and floors and walls. This can create a lot of different combinations for your next projects. To download the pack, the link is in description, so let's go grab it. So the first step to import the pack is simply do right click in a folder, import to current folder, and then you choose the FBX. I'm not gonna do it because I already imported it and placed it in the scene, but when the import is gonna finished, you can just select everything, maybe not the material, and then you drop and drop in the scene. Here is everything located at the 000. After that, the only thing I did is basically move them one by one like this. So you show in a practical way all the meshes you have and you can use it very quickly. I'm not gonna do it again, I already have it, so let's keep going. To keep things very organized in our outliner, what I did is I created a folder called Architecture Pack A and then a floors, pillars and walls folders inside. So we keep everything organized. Before we start the blocking out, I just want to analyze a bit the pictures, the reference we choose to make the scene, so you guys understand how the composition works from this one. So what I really love in this picture is how minimal and simple the framing is. So it's called the frontal perspective. Frontal because it's in front of a wall. You can see the wall there in the end. You can see the wall there in front of us. So yeah, this is very simple. A simple camera, everything 90 degrees, facing the wall. And then there is those pillars making some amazing shadow. This creates contrast. It also shows the vanishing point of the perspective that you can see here. The patterns on the wall create amazing reliefs with the shadows. That's why I created a pack for you guys, so you can have the same render. Alright, let's jump in Unreal to make the blockout. So I have a small tool called Winpin. It allows me to keep any window in front of everything, so let's keep our reference around here. I think first thing we need is create the camera, so we have the same framing as the reference. The simplest way to create a camera is just go into perspective, create camera, and we're gonna choose a Cine Camera Actor because it has more settings than the Camera Actor. It's more towards video and photography. Once you clicked, it's there because it's selected. It added where we were. So to process the camera, you go into perspective and you can click here on Cine Camera Actor 0. We are in the camera. You can't really tell right now aside here. If you want to go back to the viewport, either you can click on the eject button here or either here in perspective. What I want now is activate the cinematic viewport because it's gonna help us to see the real settings of the camera. The default viewport not always show the settings of the camera we put here. So activate the cinematic viewport here. As you can see, it already changed something. And now we're gonna process the Cine Camera Actor 0. Here we go. Okay, to gain a bit of clarity, I'm gonna move all the Kitbashed I aligned on the floor. So I'm gonna move it on the left. One quick tip in Unreal. If you hold Control and either left click or right click or both, you can move things even if you don't touch the gizmo here. So look, I hold Control, I click on left mouse button, and I can move them without touching the gizmo. If I hold the right mouse button, it moves it on another axis. And both of them will move it up and down on the Z axis. So I'm gonna do Ctrl Z because I want to keep it on the floor. I'm gonna hold Ctrl and left mouse button to move it. But no worries, you can otherwise exit the camera and move it with the gizmo there. No worries, it works also. Okay, so what I want now is to reprocess the camera. So we start making the framing. Select the camera, so it's here. I'm gonna create a folder expressly for it. Okay, let me move my little face. And I'm gonna call the folder A Cameras, so it stays on top. in alphabetical order. Now I select my camera and I want to really align it with precision. So in the rotation, I'm gonna reset it. So now it's on 0, 0, 0. It's really like 90 degrees. Okay, before we do the blockout, one thing we want to do, which is very important, is lock the camera. So every time you forget that you're processing the camera, you're gonna move like this, and then it's gonna screw the settings we put, like to have the nice angle. So I'm gonna reset the angle. Okay, maybe I'm gonna move it a bit there. I'm gonna reset the angle. And then what you can do is right click, transform, and lock actor movement. Once you clicked on lock actor movement, you can't move the camera anymore. What you need is to re-click on it, transform, and uncheck lock actor movement. So I'm gonna exit the camera for now until we place the blockout shapes. Okay, by the way, when the icons of Unreal and object disappear, you can click on the G key. So the G key is activating the game mode. It shows how the game would look like without, you know, the viewport icons and everything. So let's keep the icons showing. Our camera is here, so we're gonna create blockout in front of the camera. Okay, I'm gonna start with basic shape. So add shapes cube. A cube in Unreal is 1 meter by 1 meter because dimensions in Unreal are in centimeters. So basically I want to shape the blockout of the Porsche. Okay, let me check the dimensions of a Porsche. Porsche Carrera 911 4S dimensions. Okay, 4 meter and half and 8 meter 85 on 130. 4 meter and half, 8 meter 25 by 140. By the way, you need to unlock this little locker if you want to be able to choose different size for each axis. Okay, I'm gonna rotate it, and here we have our first blockout. So this is the car blockout. Now I'm gonna do the same, add a shape, cube, and I'm gonna block out the wall. Scale is 2 meter, 3 meters high, and on the depth I think I'm gonna put 10 centimeters or maybe 20 centimeters. To start, I want a full wall, so I think it's 4 meters large. You know, this one. I think we can put it closer, and then we can duplicate it. So to duplicate it, you hold Alt, and you select the axis you want to duplicate it with. Maybe we can duplicate on the Z-axis to make it higher. And there we go, we have our first wall. So I'm gonna keep duplicating it just to make it wider, because we didn't choose the angle of the camera yet, we didn't choose the focal length. I'm gonna make it higher again with selecting all the top shelf, and here we go, we have our first wall. I'm now gonna add another cube, which is gonna be our pillar. For the pillar, I'm gonna keep it 50 centimeters. Let's make 8 meters, and we're gonna put 60 centimeters high. Okay, let's put 8 meters is not enough. Let's put 14 meters. Okay. Right now is just a really simple blockout, so we don't really make it super precise. I will show you after how to make a pattern repeating with the exact same length between each object. You can do it straight in Unreal, I will show you. So we can see on the reference there is no pillars on the right, and there is only 3 pillars, but it's fine. We're not obliged to respect exactly the same layout. We can either reproduce exactly the scene, or we can either have a bit more of a creative freedom and do whatever we want. So let's jump back in the camera so we frame our scene. So what makes it really nice, this framing, is that the focal length is very narrow, but the camera is far away, a bit like in a zoom lens. So we're gonna reproduce this. Select your camera in the outliner here. We're gonna unlock it, so right click, transform, uncheck lock actor movement, and now we can move again. The first thing we need to do is choose the focal length so we match the picture. By the way, you can activate those framing guides if you click on this button here. And I like to have the grid guide. We can always deactivate it later. So, with the camera selected, you go on the top bottom right, and here are the main settings of the camera. What we want to do, the current focal length is 25 millimeters. Let's try a 50 millimeters lens, so it's gonna be much more zoomed. Alright, then let's move the camera. So what I see in the current picture is that the wheel is really in front of the camera. That means the camera is very low on the floor. Right now we are a bit too high, so let's get a bit down. Like this. Maybe we can rise up a bit the camera. Let's try to center our car blockout in the middle. Okay, so let's get back the camera. I'm just gonna reset the yaw angle so we keep a very precise framing. I think we nailed it. Look, we have our 3 pillars and we have approximately the same size of the car. I'm gonna make the pillars a bit higher, so let's get them back to 1 meter. Let's get them a bit down. I think here is fine. Let's try to match the lighting of the reference pictures. So there is a very practical shortcut in Unreal. It's to move the sun without having to touch the gizmo. First, let's block our camera again so we don't move it. So right click on the camera, transform, lock actor movement. Then you're gonna right click on the viewport, otherwise the shortcut is not gonna work. So right click, it's fine, nothing is moving. Now it's gonna work. Hold Ctrl and click on L. And if you hold Ctrl, you can now move the sun. Let's try to match it. So I think I'm on the right angle here. There is one thing I see is that our columns are not long enough to reproduce that shadow here on the floor. You see, it stops here. So let's just exit the camera and see what else we can do. I'm gonna deactivate the guides here for 1 second. Okay, you can see the pillars are probably not long enough. Let's make our beams longer. Since we changed the size of the 3 first ones, you can see here they have multiple sizes. So what I want to do is we're gonna delete the 2 beams we didn't change and we're gonna work with those 3 ones. Let's make them 30 meters. Move them a bit. We're gonna duplicate it. So it creates another shadow here, and maybe even other ones again. And let's copy it on the other side too. Okay, let's go back to our camera. That's still not long enough, so we're gonna increase again. Oh, by the way, let's organize our blockout. So let's create a folder called blockout. Okay, let's select our beams. And I'm gonna make them 50 meters long. So as you can see, the shadow is still not long enough. I don't want to make the beams too long because we lose a bit of realism in terms of architecture. Like concrete beams are not really often that long. What we can do is get the camera closer to the Porsche. So let's try to do that. I'm gonna unlock the camera now. So I'm gonna move it on the X-axis. And here we go. What I can do now is lower the beams. So let's exit the camera, select the beams. Okay, go back to the camera, control both mouse buttons and lower them. And here we go. Okay, I don't like that there is no beam here in the top right corner, so I'm gonna use control and right click so we move them a bit. We have a really nice centered composition now, very symmetrical, and I like it. I love asymmetry too, but in this case we're gonna keep it minimal and simple. There is one last thing I just noticed, is that there is a kind of curb there in back of the reference. I'm gonna simply duplicate the car blockout. By the way, let's name this one blockout car. Okay, let's hide it 1 second. Okay, let's duplicate it, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, blockout, I'm gonna put blockout curb. I'm gonna exit the camera. And I'm gonna move it there and change the dimensions. We can put 20 centimeters for the curb. Alright, let's make it very long now. I'm gonna put like 50 meters. It's fine. Okay, let's go back to the camera. Just checking if the camera is locked. Oh, it's not locked. So let's lock the camera so we don't move it accidentally. And here we go. We have our first blockout. Congratulations, guys. What I like to do when I progress on the project is take some screenshots. So the easiest way to take a screenshot is F9. You go to the Unreal project, saved, screenshot, and it's there. So when you do F9 in the viewport, it's gonna really take what it sees. As you can see on the screenshot, there is the lines of the editor. Let's click on G, so the editor lines and icon disappears. And there is one trick also we can do, is to increase the resolution. We can go into this button here, screen percentage, click on custom override, and I'm gonna do 150. But be careful with this, guys. That's like in a video game. If you increase the resolution, of course, it's much more demanding in terms of graphic cards and GPU, CPU performances. So I'm gonna just put 150 for now, and we're gonna lower it later. I'm gonna take another screenshot, F9, and here you go. Here's the difference. Okay, my friends, we have our first blockout. It looks really nice already. So the next step is to start to put the meshes we want in your scene. Okay, I'm gonna exit the camera. Basically, we're gonna use the asset pack I furnished you, and we're gonna make it look great. So right now it's just about choosing what you want. For example, we're gonna start with this one. So I'm gonna hold Alt and move it. And I'm gonna put it in another folder so it doesn't stay in the same folder as the Kitbashed here. So you can right click on the object, choose move, and create a new folder. And we're gonna call it scene walls. And I'm gonna put it out of the walls folder here. So if you want to put it back in the root, slide it on the right on the scroll slider. And as you can see, it's here, scene walls. Unreal Outliner is sorted out by alphabetical order. So what I like to do is when I start adding some meshes, I put the C underscore in front of the folder's name. So it stays under the A and under the B. Okay, let's close all of this and keep it clear. Right now the steps is very simple. Just copy what you want to replace the blockout cubes. For example, I'm gonna place the wall here. It's fine if it's not exactly the same place. If it sticks out a bit, no worries. We're gonna try like this, and if it's too small or too big, we can always change it later. So here we go. I put the pivot point in the corner, so it's really easy to align things. I kept the snapping grid on 10. Since it's still the blockout, there is one thing we can do, which is very practical. So you can click on your camera and you can pin it. Here you see the small pin. If you pin it, the camera gonna stay on the viewport here. But be careful, guys. If you have a lot of objects in your scene, displaying two cameras is very overkill. On top of this pattern, I'm gonna use a much more simple pattern, so it's gonna create contrast. Okay, let's use both of them, because what I like with this one is that there is nothing there, so we can kind of plug the beams into the flat zone there, but we're gonna have to reverse it. Okay, follow with me. Up, we rotate it. Okay, let's start with this one first. Alright, so I'm just gonna align them here. Okay, here we go. It doesn't match where I want, so basically we don't need both of them. Let's just move this one, and then this one I'm gonna rotate it like this, 180 degrees. Then I'm gonna align it here. Alright, let's keep going with the duplicate. Let's fill the wall. Okay, this looks nice. Look at this. Amazing. For this issue there, you can see the beam is half there, so that's not good. We need to find a solution for this. Don't forget to save, because Unreal crashes very often. Alright, I'm gonna try to make it modular, so follow with me. That's the power of kit bashing. You can really play with what you have and find solutions. So I'm gonna take this half wall and put it on the side and see what I can do with this. Okay, let's see what I can do if I reduce the size of these ones. Okay, maybe a bit more. We're gonna do 70. Keep them aligned. What do you think, guys? Works well, right? Okay, I really like it like this. I think it will really look amazing. Let's do the floor now. So I have made much different patterns. We need to find one that is maybe not too detailed, or maybe we can combine them. So let's try. Maybe this one. The power of the grid and having clean dimensions with the Kitbashed is that we can align everything. That makes it really easy and powerful. Oh, by the way, I made the mistake to keep going in the same folder, so let's move things in the right folders. So move, create a folder, scene, floors, we moved it on the root. We had some C. Okay, what about the walls here? This one, this one, this one, this one, all of them. We need them to be in their old folders. Move to C, scene walls. Great. So to check if you didn't forget anything, you can hide the architecture pack. And as you can see, nothing is hiding here, so it's fine. Okay, let's delete this one maybe. Alright, it looks amazing. Don't forget to save. Let's keep going with the floor. Okay, now we can either duplicate this or choose another one. Select all of them, duplicate again. Alright, this is gonna be super long to reach the camera here. All this zone. I'm gonna use a simpler one now. So I'm gonna use this one. Okay, one tip here. There is one thing we can do to make it really faster. Select all of those. Duplicate. Put it in a second folder. So we call it floors B. Select the one you want to replace this mesh with. So for example, we want this one, right? In the static mesh of the detailed panel, you click on the small folder with the magnifier and you click on it. So now it's selected, the right one. We go back to selected the floor we want to change. So it's gonna be this ones in the B folder. And then you simply drag and drop the floor D here in the static mesh. And bam, everything changed. Okay, let's save. I think it looks great. Maybe let's do one more line. It's hitting the Kitbashed here, so let's move the Kitbashed. Okay. Well done, guys. So to end up the blockout, the last thing we want is to place the beams right. So for the beams, I'm gonna use one of those pillars and we're gonna put it on the side. Like this. Move it to another folder called C beams. Put it on the root. And let's use it there. So we're gonna first get the scale right, and then we're gonna do the pattern I was talking about in the beginning of the tutorial. Let's hide this beam so we see if the shadow is working well. So it's too short, of course. We need to extend it. I don't want to lose this detail. I don't know if it's gonna show. So let's verify. Let's hide the other one. Okay, it can show here, so that's fine. But if we extend it more, it's gonna flatten the curve. So we want to keep the details. What you can do is simply duplicate it like this. But we're gonna do this later when we do the pattern. To unhide, we can do Ctrl H. Let's reduce the grid to 5. So it's aligned. Here we go. I'm gonna keep 10. Okay, now is the time to make a repetition, very clean, of the beam. So we're gonna go into the modeling mode. If you don't have the modeling mode here, you're gonna have to go into Edit, Plugins. You're gonna look for Modeling. And you're gonna check Modeling Tools Editor mode, and I don't have the static mesh editor mode, but it's always useful to have it. And then you restart. And don't forget to save. So once you restarted, you select the beam you want to duplicate. Then you go into X form and you have this pattern tool. Let's click it. So once you're in the pattern tool, we want to put it on the Y axis, otherwise it's not the right direction. Then we want to move the start translation. Then here the extent will give us the spacing we need. It's gonna be a bit of try and error. We can try until we get the right one. You can see it's a bit too much. Let's lower a bit. Okay, that seems to do it. Now let's accept it. And here we go, we have our pattern. Let's hide the blockout and check if everything is alright. I'm gonna go back to the selection mode. Here we go, we have a really nice pattern here. And you can see on the screenshot everything is well aligned. Alright, let's save it. And here we go, advanced blockout done. We can now go on with the materials, guys. See you in the next one. Oh, just for the prosperity, let's make a screenshot and save our current state. F9 screenshot. By the way, this is not really advanced renders. If we want a really high quality renders with less noise and more like details, we're gonna have to make it in the movie render queue. Oh, by the way, we didn't do the curve. So let's make it quick. Let's do this one. Gonna duplicate it. I'm gonna create a new folder for it called C curbs. Put it in the root. Flatten down. It's a bit too big, so I'm gonna reduce the scale like this. I think it works fine like this. So okay, let's check it in the Cine camera. We can also make the viewport full screen with the F11 key. It seems nice, I like it. Oh, let's not forget to extend our beams. So let's get out of the camera. And I'm just gonna duplicate the beams there, so the shadow is continuous. Alright, that's amazing. Let's go on to the materials, guys. For the materials, we're gonna use Quixel Megascan. So this is very easy. You just have to click here and open the Quixel Bridge. So I think the Quixel Bridge plugin should be activated with your Unreal 5.6. But if it's not, open the Unreal Launcher, click on Unreal Engine, go to your library. Then in the vault, look for Bridge. Here you're gonna have the Quixel Bridge plugin. You click on Install in the engine. For me, it says it's already installed. Then if I click here on Install Plugins, you can see Quixel Bridge is installed. If ever you install it and you still don't have it, in the Preferences, Plugins, you can activate it here, Bridge. Okay, let's go back to the materials. So after login here with the profile icon, what we're gonna do is look for like concrete. There is a lot. I already downloaded a few, but I'm gonna show you which one I chose. So the one you see with a green check is the one I downloaded. Basically what I like is the cast in situ concrete. It means when they pour down the concrete with benching on the construction site straight. So what you can type is cast in situ. And then you're gonna have all the best concrete you can find on Quixel. Choose a few. I like when there is a few imperfections and stuff. For example, I'm gonna download this one with you. I think high quality will be good. Highest quality is 8K, maybe it's a bit overkill. You can try if you have good performance and good machine. But high quality is 4K, I think is far than enough. I'm gonna click on download, and maybe I'm gonna take another one. For example, this one, I like it. Here you can check other type of renders if you want to see it from more far away or more detailed version. So it should be good. This one is nice too. I'm gonna download it. You can see the progression of downloads here. Once you download it here, you can go to local and you see everything you downloaded here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna choose the 2 materials we downloaded, and I'm gonna add another one also. For the floor, I think we want a very smooth concrete material. So for example, this one I have here. If you type smooth concrete, you're gonna have some choice here, you see? Rough concrete, smooth concrete. So I'm gonna choose the 2 ones we downloaded together, and one I already had. Okay, these ones. And this one. And yeah, you just have to click on add. You have to wait a bit because it's copying the files. All the Quixel materials are like often 200 megabytes for each material when it's in 4K, so it's heavy. Once you see the things moving in the background, that means it's done. So you can just close it. Alright, once you downloaded the material, we can simply either drag and drop it, but if we do that, we're gonna have to apply it one by one on each mesh. It's a bit time consuming, so I'm gonna show you another way. Select the mesh you want to apply the material to. For example, here is floor D. Click on the folder with the magnifier, you open it, and here in the mesh, there is this material slot, and you can just drag and drop it. And everything is gonna change at once. Save it for now. What we can do also is keep this window open, and we can open the other meshes, so we can switch with another material. Okay, floor F is there, open it. When you click the folder and the magnifier, it's gonna use the content browser you used last. So if you want to avoid this, for example, keep the content browser locked in the Quixel Materials, we can do that. We're gonna click on the surface here in the outliner, and then we're gonna add a filter to show only the materials. So click on the 3 lines here, and we're gonna click on material. Okay, there is no material because there are material instances. So we're gonna add the material instances. Look on all filters, material instance. So now we can see all the materials that are in this surface main folder. And if I don't want the content browser to change when I click on the loop magnifier, we're gonna lock it here with the locker. So now when we do that, it opens the control space shortcut. But if you click here on the left content browser, it's gonna use this one to look for your mesh. Okay, so let's do same with the beams. Let's look for it here, open it, and now we can change the material here. So what I like to do when I apply those materials is choose a material with some details, like for example some lines or things like that, so it can give a bit of detail on the edges of our mesh. For some reason, when you use the pattern tool in the modeling tools, you have to select straight in the pattern mesh all the meshes, because they keep it as an instance, so it's still optimized for 3D geometry and draw calls. We can apply it by selecting the meshes here and drag and drop in the material there in the material slot. And there we go. So let's save the scene. Okay, let's apply it to the wall E. Let's try this one again. Alright, let's apply to the wall F. Maybe let's try another one. Oh, this one looks nice. Let's apply it to the wall E too, so it makes it a bit clearer. Nice. And then on this one, wall G, I'm gonna apply the first one. Okay, wow, this one looks amazing. Alright, the floor ones. So floor F, let's apply this one, or maybe this one. This one is way more smooth and has less detail, so I don't really like it. Let's try the middle one. This one is not really adapted to floors. Like, as you can see, there is like leaks in the texture. So maybe let's go find another texture. Let's open Quixel Bridge again. I'm gonna go to my local folder. Maybe you can find another material you like and download it. For me, I'm gonna try to find one I already downloaded. Maybe this one, Dusty Concrete. Maybe this one, Worn Concrete. And maybe this one, Concrete Pavement. Maybe this one, Cast in situ concrete. I'm gonna click on add and I'm gonna close Quixel Bridge. I'm gonna try the M1 concrete. Not bad. I'm gonna try another one. Nope, maybe the Dusty Concrete. Oh, Dusty, it's not bad, this one. Concrete Pavement. Another concrete pavement. Concrete floor. Okay, let's keep on the Worn concrete. Oh, and the curb. So let's open it. Concrete slab. Yeah, looks cool. Let's keep this one. Alright, I'm gonna close all of them for now. Let's check in the camera. Wow, that looks amazing. As you can see here, the benching hole doesn't look too good, so we're gonna have to offset the texture in Quixel Materials. Before we actually make the materials final, we're tweaking the texture so it looks really amazing. We're gonna import the Porsche car, so we get rid of this ugly white block and we can start to have a feeling of the scene. So I have here the FBX of the Porsche I reworked in Blender. We're gonna create a new folder in the content browser. We're gonna call it Meshes. And this one I'm gonna create Porsche 911A. I like to always add a letter A, B, C, D. So if for example we import another Porsche, like which is another 911 from another year or another model, we have different folders, you know, Porsche A, Porsche B. So let's open this one. I have my FBX file here. Let's just drag and drop it. This is importing. Let's click on import. Okay. Let's select all the meshes there, the blue one, and drag and drop it to the scene. Look at this, amazing. Oh, there is no wheels. Okay, because, look, there is materials in the middle, and I didn't select all of the meshes there. So, let's just delete this. What we can do is, while selecting the Porsche 911 folder, you can add a static mesh filter here. And now it's gonna show only the static meshes. Let's select all of them, drag and drop. We put it in the on the right floor level. Let's rotate it. And let's place it well. We can see it's a bit too big, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put everything in a folder called C car, and then I'm gonna select all the meshes and create a group there. So right click, group. So now if I scale down, they're gonna all scale down towards the group. Okay, this is too small, so let's reduce the snapping grid and let's scale it up again. I think this works good. Let's align it. We can hide the blockout cube now. Let's check in camera. Amazing. I'm gonna get closer just to check if the car is not flying. And as you can see, it's flying, so let's get it a bit down, put the tires on the floor. Okay, I think it's nice like this. Let's reactivate the snapping grid and let's check in camera. Okay, that looks amazing. Let's save everything. Just one precision, guys. If you save with this little floppy disk in the top of the software, it's gonna save mostly the level. But if you use the save all button in the bottom, it's gonna save the imported objects of the content browser. That's why this button is in the content browser. It's gonna save everything you imported or modified. But the one here on top is only the level, so be sure to always save both when you save. Hey back guys, what we want to do next is keep making the materials better. What I see already is these holes, I want to change them. On the floor meshes, you can see the repetition of these details, so I don't like it. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. Maybe this line here, I want to make it down. And you can see differences in the tones of the curb, which is colder, and on the floor, which is more warm. So let's balance all of this, guys. First, I want to take a screenshot, full screen. F9 to take the screenshot. What I can see also is the wheels of the car are blurry. That means our camera is doing the focus on the background and we want the focus to be on the car. So let's fix that now. Let's first select the camera. Then what we're gonna do in the camera details, we're gonna go into focus settings and we're gonna draw the debug focus plane here. So we know exactly where the focus is. I think it's very far away now, so let's bring it back. Okay, once it appears, try to manage it so it comes to the Porsche. I'm gonna deactivate it. And now we can see the wheels are in focus. Next steps is to tweak the texture so the holes doesn't appear like this. So what I'm gonna do is I simply gonna open the Quixel material here. They did a good job to have everything planned already, so you can modify what you want. So if we open the global parameter group here and we check the tiling offset X and Y, by switching them we can literally change what we want. So let's try to find some really nice angle that adds some details and that puts the details in the right place. So I kinda like this line here because it fits, let's exit the camera, because it fits on the shape of the geometry I created for you. One thing I don't like is the hole here. Let's try to modify this. We can also change the tiling, not only the offset, but if you change the tiling, it's gonna make the texture either bigger and less detailed, either you're gonna stretch it, so be careful with that. For now, I think we're gonna keep one. Also, here's a tip. As you can see, it moves the material on every mesh that uses it. What I'm gonna do, I want to separate these materials. So I tweak only one or the other, not the both at the same time. So what we need is create another material and apply it. I'm gonna select our material, I'm gonna duplicate it. I'm gonna call it underscore top. So I know it's gonna be for this one. I'm gonna open the wall F and apply it, the new material. Now we can open it and then we can tweak it individually. So if I change the offset, you can see it changed only on the top one. If I get closer, I can see the leaks are kind of reversed. It's supposed to be from top to bottom and here is like leaking up. So we can go into the rotation angle. And here the rotation angle is in 0.25 quarters. So if I do 0.25, it's gonna rotate 90 degrees. 0.5, so it rotates 180 degrees. So what I like here is actually the leak. I think it's a very good idea to try to keep it and try to keep this broken line here on the detail. Here the wall is cut, so we need to find a solution for that. I can see also that the wall is actually oval. That means the texture is a bit stretched. Let's reduce it a bit. I think like this it's good. The bench hole is on the flat side here and it works well. Let's keep going with the one in the bottom. So I'm gonna select this one, which is the one in the bottom, and we wanted to get rid of those big holes there. So let's move it a bit like this. I don't like this line here. It's in the middle of nowhere, so let's try to increase a bit the size with the tiling. Offset Y. Here is very simple. It's just a game of aligning stuff. Okay, look at this. This is amazing. I love it. It aligns with the geometry there and works very well. Here too in the bottom, as you can see, it makes the down a bit darker and from far away it looks very nice. We still have this kind of line here, but I think it looks nice, so let's keep it like this. Let's save. Okay, let's duplicate the material that is applied on the pillar. Well, I say pillar, but it's actually a beam. And as we saw earlier, we need to apply it to the pattern here in the static mesh components. So let's apply it here also. Let's open the material. And here we go. What I see is that the material is stretched. So let's make it less stretched. Maybe offset it, try to have the joint in the right place. What I want is really the joint on the geometry here. Okay, amazing, look at this. So it gives a bit of detail here in the corner, and here some details around the curve. Let's keep going with the floor now. So let's try something. I want to put the clear texture under the car. It's gonna create some contrast and detach it from the background. And then these ones can go in the foreground and add some details. Let's try this. I want to take all the floors here and move it back. And then we select all the B floors. That's why also it's very important to add some very organized folder. You see how I can do really fast stuff because everything is well organized and I can select objects straight. Okay, let's see what it gives in the camera. Alright, not bad. I like how it looks clean under the car, but it's a bit too much and too clear. Let's try the dusty concrete floor. Not too much difference. What we want to do is to really make something pop and not have a too clear or clean surface. Let's open it, albedo control, contrast. We can try also to change the roughness. So basically guys, the roughness is the way the materials reflect light. So the more rough is it, the less it's gonna reflect. And the more polished it looked, the more it's gonna reflect like a mirror. So let's try max roughness to diminish it. Like this. I don't like it too much, it's really like too smooth. Let's find another material which is much more like a worn. Okay, let's try back the worn concrete. Roughness, let's go down the roughness. Okay, this one is not too bad. What we can do also is tweak the normal. So the normal is the false relief that you can have on the texture. It's not geometry, it's done with like 2D textures. And it used the lighting to create some bump and reliefs. So if we increase it a bit to 3, we have a bit more like details there on the floor. One thing that can help us here is to tweak the tones so it match more the reference. So if you can see the reference, it's much cold tones. As you can see, the curb here is more cold than the other textures which are more warm. So we're gonna use the tint and go from this to a bit more warm color. You see already? Everything is aligned in terms of color tones. Hey, I just want to add a bit of details here. So what I don't like is the floor and the curbs collapse in a too clean way. You see, there is not much effects of dirtiness or anything there. Let's open this one. What I want is tweak his material. Let's duplicate it, just in case another mesh use this material. And let's apply this one. Let's go to tiling, offset. Okay, here we go. You see this, this big line? This is gonna make it look amazing. Let's reduce the stretching by reducing the white tiling too. Okay, looks nice like this. Let's keep it. Okay, now let's make the car material a bit better, so we really start to get towards our final scene. For the car materials, we're gonna create it from scratch, so I explained to you a bit on the way how materials work. Let's go back to our content folder. We're gonna create a new folder called materials. Oh, there is already one. So let's open it. Okay, there is a few materials I created earlier. Let's give this material folder a color. Like, materials are green, so let's keep it a green color. Okay, don't mind those. We're gonna create the materials from scratch. So just right click and create material. We're gonna call it MM because it's gonna be a master material. That means it's gonna manage all the material instances settings. So let's call it MM and basic material. Alright folks, welcome to the material editor. We opened the basic material we created. It's empty now. There is just this main node from Unreal. Let's save everything first before creating anything. So the simplest thing we can do right now is add a few nodes that gonna plug into this main node called the result node. So this one will output the settings we put in, so we can tweak it later in the material instance. We're gonna start by right clicking and add a constant tree vector. So constant tree vector basically is a color node. Is a tree axis or tree colors. You can see it here, red, green, blue. And the white is the sum of all of those. So let's right click and click on convert to parameter. And we call it color. By converting a node to parameter, we expose it to be able to be modified in the material instance. Because right now this is just a material, it's not a material instance. But we're gonna see that very soon. Okay, let's give it a white color and let's plug it into the base color. So now we can add a scalar parameter, which is just a float number from 0 to 1. Or we can put whatever we want. And we're gonna call this one roughness. So that's where we're gonna tweak our roughness. We're gonna plug it into the roughness. We're gonna do Ctrl C, Ctrl V. And then we're gonna call this one specular. Let's give all of them a default value of 0.5, so we stay balanced with everything. The next one gonna be a metallic node. Let's stay organized. I like it clean. Let's save it. We're gonna add one more node, which is a multiplier node. So this way we can make the color darker or more clear. If you want to move a plug node, you click on Control, you hold it, and then you can plug it anywhere else. So let's plug it into the A, let's plug the multiplier into the base color, and now we're gonna duplicate one of those, one of those color parameters and call it brightness. So basically this one is gonna multiply the color by itself, so we can tweak the brightness of it. So let's put brightness on 1, apply and save. Let's start to apply materials to our car. So for now I'm gonna right click, group and unlock the group. Not ungroup because we're gonna lose the group, but unlock it. So we can lock it later, but until we lock it again, we can select all the meshes one by one. It's unlocked it now. We can select all the meshes we want. I'm gonna exit the camera. I'm gonna get closer to the car. We have the main hull of the car now. What we want is to change its material. I want to demonstrate here what's the difference between material and an instance material. So if we apply to the hull the wall material, if you want to tweak it, you're gonna have to open the material each time and come and tweak those values. For example, roughness, if you want very reflective paint, you're gonna put 0.1, but then you're gonna have to save it and apply each time. And a material instance is explicitly done to be practical and to be able to be changed very quickly without affecting the big master material that we have here. So what we can do to create an instance material is right click on the material and choose create instance material. So we're gonna call it MI because it's material instance, carpent, blue like in the reference. I like this dark blue, it's very beautiful. And now we can drag and drop the new car paint here, and if you open it you can see you have options to modify. So if you check brightness, you can modify the brightness. As you can see, it's very fast and efficient. What we want to do is check the color and give it a dark blue color like in the reference. So let's see. I really like this blue, it's really beautiful. It's a bit less saturated than full saturation, so let's get the saturation down a bit. Let's get the value down a bit. And I think it turns a bit towards slightly turquoise blue, so let's tweak a bit like this. Here we go, we have it now a bit more dark, and here we go, beautiful. So I'm gonna click OK, and I think I can tweak the metallic surface of the paint because I feel like this one is very metallic. As you can see, there is variation in the tint. So if we increase the metallic, the paint is gonna get darker. So we have to compensate a bit with putting it less dark. And here we go. I think it's very beautiful like this. Let's save everything for now. We can still increase it later. What we can do is work a bit on the car wheels now. So I can see there is many options. Let's duplicate our blue paint and call it car paint red. So we can do the brakes. Let's assign it here. Also on the rear wheels. And let's tweak it. So we want to get it yellow. And I think those are less metallic, they are less reflective, so let's go back to 0.5. And the roughness be 0.4, maybe a bit more metallic. Okay, let's get to 1. Let's tweak the paint, which is a bit too much yellow. Let's turn into a bit more orangey. Okay, nice. Roughness is gonna be 0.3. Okay, beautiful. Let's do the rim now. Car paint, rim. We can apply it on both of them by selecting the two meshes, silver, and let's make it not colored. Metallic is 1, roughness is a bit more rough, so 0.1, and let's make it a bit darker. It looks like a dark gray. Like it like this. Let's validate this. Okay, great. Wow, we already have a nice, really nice car. Let's make a last one for the lights, glass. We're gonna make it like a bit like Chrome for now, because I don't want to spend too much time into materials for a beginner tutorial. So we're gonna call it light glass. Let's select this one, and this one, and this one. Glass. And the shiny one. Like this, it already looks really nice. You know what? Let's keep it like this. Maybe a bit even more dark. Okay, great. Looks amazing. I really love it. I'm proud of what we did here. Really beautiful. Okay, let's go back to the camera and check this. Wow, looks amazing. There is something I think will really enhance our car renders. I think if we put some reflection on the glass of the car, it will look much better. So let's do it. It's gonna be very simple. I'm gonna duplicate one of the metal thing we have, then call it glass, dark glass. I'm gonna apply it to the car's windows. Here we go. The last one. Okay, it's too reflective for now, so let's go back to our camera and let's keep it really black. But what we want, it's not metallic since it's glass. We want the roughness to be really low so it has a good reflection. So let's put 0.02 and I think we are good to go. What we lack here is probably some decor to make a reflection here. From what I see, the reflection of the beam, but it's not enough. And you can see the gray reflection here is actually the overcast sky. Let's try to tweak just a bit the clouds so it adds some reflection in the car windows. Let's select our clouds, which is the volumetric cloud here. So if we open the material of the clouds here, there is an option called Cloud Global Coverage. And this changed the amount of clouds there is in the sky. So let's try to make it more detailed. Let's see in the camera what it gives. Okay, that doesn't seem to change anything in the reflection. Oh yes, it changes. Look, okay, I'm gonna increase it a bit. And look, there is more reflection here. It looks great. So let's keep it like this. So we are almost done with our scene and the materials and the lighting is good. I think the walls behind and the floor looks a bit too white, too clean. Let's try to add a bit of range of contrast in the materials there. I'm gonna start with opening the walls. I'm gonna check albedo control and increase the contrast there. So let's make it a bit darker, a bit grungy. So 1.5 I think is good. I'm gonna do the same with this material, rust 1.5. Oh wow, look at this, it already pops out. This one, let's try with the top ones. Rust 1.5. Cool. This one turns a bit blue I think, so let's try to tint it. Okay, here we go, something like this. Let's do the floor also. Curb 1.7. Foreground. Contrast, maybe 2. Let's try 2. Okay, 2 is nice. I like it. I think the reflection is a bit too strong here. Let's try to modify this. Roughness. Okay, I think 0.3 is good. I think there is a bit too much pattern here. So let's try to just switch one of those. Maybe switch it with another one randomly. See which one is nice. Okay, this works well, I think. Let's switch these two also. Maybe with a new one. Okay, cool, look at this. Now we have some variation. The design has to be really balanced, not too much detail. It has to add some space in between so it breathes. Okay, I think floor A is nice. I think we can do a variation in the tone of the road. So it's gonna add some contrast and make the car pop. Let's tweak the specular so it becomes really dark. I think it's really turning too warm, so let's reduce the saturation also. Alright. Let's go toward the ends of the render. So we want our visual to pop a bit more. We're gonna tweak the post-process volume so we enhance the visual of the camera. Before we move on to the last part, which is making the visuals better and final, we are gonna tweak something very special in the lighting and atmosphere, which is gonna make the scene really nice. You can't really see it right now, but there is fog in the scene. And what I want here is Since we have a really nice sun casting the beams, shadows on the scene, I want the fog to really show, to really make some light shaft on the scene. And we can do that really easily. So the first thing we want to do is, if you don't see the fog, you have to go to directional light and increase the volumetric scattering intensity. Select the exponential eye fog. We type volumetric, and you can see here volumetric fog is not checked out. So let's check this one. And as you can see, it's already popping ultra strong. Now what we want to do is reduce the density of the fog. 0.005 will do. Scattering distribution. So if we make it a bit higher, it's gonna move the most part of the fog towards the upper of the screen, which gonna make it look nicer. I keep on 0.5. It looks really nice. Okay, now let's tweak the visuals so it matches a bit more our references in terms of color and contrast. So as you can see on the reference, it's a bit more towards blue. And the shadows pop a bit more too. So the first thing we can do is go to the directional light, and we can switch a bit the temperature of the sun towards something colder. So let's increase towards like 9000 is nice. It really matches our reference. Reference has still a bit more contrast in the shadows. The shadows are a bit darker. Alright, here is our final step to make the visuals pop. Let's add a post-process volume. We're gonna go to add volumes, choose it here. If you don't see, you can click the G key, it's gonna appear. Basically what the post-process volume does, inside that cube, it's gonna apply to the camera and to the game some settings. So for example, if we enter the cube right now, there is nothing that changed because we didn't put any settings. But for example, if we choose the cube and we increase the exposure, by entering the cube, the exposure gonna change, you see? And we can do other stuff, like for example, let's uncheck this. We can add some color grading in the cube. So for example, if we boost the saturation inside the cube, like 2, let's crank it up, and we enter the cube, everything gonna look more saturated. We can exaggerate with 10, you see? And that acts only in the cube. So what we want is check this box here, which is called Infinite Extend. It's gonna apply the settings to the whole world without even having to enter the cube. Okay, let's reset the saturation. We're not gonna keep it like this. We can move the cube now because we don't need it in our face, because the settings will be applied everywhere in the world thanks to the unbound check. So what we can do is stay in color grading, and we can increase contrast, for example. Let's go back to our camera and let's increase the contrast. So let's try 1.2. We can see already it makes a big difference. 1.3, really nice. Let's keep it to 1.2 and let's tweak the shadows now. Okay, we have to go down into mid-tones. Shadows are everything that is really black. So we can see if we tweak the gain here, it's gonna only affect the really dark parts under the car. So we don't need to change this. What we need to change is the mid-tones. So let's go back to mid-tones, gain. We lower it. 0.8, okay, that's already better. 0.7, looks really great. Look all the contrast it added, amazing. So let's save everything. I think the foreground still looks a bit warm / purple. So let's tweak a bit the material. Alright, maybe we can desaturate it a bit and reset the tint. Maybe lower a bit the brightness, it's too high. What I like to do also is sometimes is rotate the texture. So we won't see anymore this repetition in the normal map. Do a slight rotation, that's better. As a very last final touch for the details, what I like here is to see the joints of our concrete panels. So let's try to just move this and this. Okay, so this one first, so we have the gizmo here. Let's move it like 1 centimeter. Okay, 2 centimeters because we also gonna move this one, 1 centimeter. For moving 1 centimeter is just the grid. I put from 10 to 1 here. It adds some really nice joints here in the concrete. Alright, looks cool. In the end, I think the floor is a bit too dark here, the road. So I wanted to boost a bit the brightness back like this. Alright. And here also on the foreground, there is too much details. It really takes me out of the car. Let's switch back to some more minimal meshes like this one. And this one gonna be a more flat one. That's much better now. Which one is the, well, this one. Okay, these two also. Alright, cool. I like it like this. Much better, much less overwhelming. As a final tweak on the contrast, we can decrease a bit more the mid-tones, so the shadows pop a bit more. Okay, I like it like this, way more darker. I think the car is getting a bit too dark. What we can do elsewhere is to click on the directional light, our sun, and increase its intensity. So let's try 10. Alright, that makes the wall pop there, that is really beautiful. I'm gonna increase the brightness of our foreground material here, so we get back a bit of clarity, like this. I noticed that this reflection here in the car creates a really nice contrast. Our car is a bit too much in the dark, so we're gonna fake it. Let's just add one light. Add lights, rect lights. Light is basically a square light that you can tweak. Let's move it around there. Alright, look at this reflection here, amazing. Let's get a bit down. What we want to avoid is that the light shows on the road. So there is many options for that. First, we're gonna give it the right size. So I'm gonna extend it a bit like this. I'm gonna reduce the attenuation radius, which is the perimeter the light acts. Okay, let's get it closer. And then there is one thing we can do. So as you can see, there is borders there on the square light. And you have two options to change those borders. So there is an angle and length. Let's reduce the angle. So we cannot see right now because it's in front, but what it does, it closes the angle of this light. So as you can see here, if I decrease it, it comes very closer. And this is what's gonna stop lighting the floor here, and also increase the length of those, and keep reducing the angle so the floor is not lit. Alright, not bad, I like it. Maybe boost the intensity, 20. Okay, maybe 100 just to check. And then you can see the reflection here is too bright. So what we can do is find advanced specular scale. We have to reduce specular scale. So 0.08 is doing good for me. Here we can make it a bit higher again, so it diffuses the reflection there. I'm gonna make a slight rotation so it doesn't lit the floor. Alright, I like it. It works well, I think. Okay guys, before we do the cameras and one nice render, we're gonna add the very last tweaks in the post-process volume, which gonna enhance our visuals. So click on the post-process volume. What we want to do is add some bloom here. So let's check. Maybe put the intensity on 1. Then we want to check the chromatic aberration, which gonna add a bit of imperfections like in the photography cameras. So let's try 1 is too much. 0.3 is nice. Always be careful guys, always check in full screen because sometimes you don't really see the effect in the viewport. But when in the final render the picture is bigger, you can see the effect is too strong. Always check in full screen. Right now I think it's not strong enough, so let's increase it a bit. 0.4. Yes, I think it's nice like this. Let's save. By the way, as you can see, every time I put full screen, it loses the post-process volume. So what we can do is click on it, and we can lock it here. So if we do that, and we come back, it's still gonna be on the details of the post-process volume. That's very handy. Okay, one last thing I want to add is the image effect, vignette. So vignette is gonna make the corners a bit darker. Cool, let's save. And now let's do the cameras, guys. Alright guys, are you ready to create your first camera? So for the render, we need a Cine Camera Actor. We already have it. And you're gonna see it's very easy. So let's put that aside. We're gonna go back to our content folder and we're gonna create a folder called Sequencer. And we're gonna give it a pink color because this is the color of everything related to animation. So right click, set color, new color, and I'm gonna give it a pink reddish color. Here you go. Alright, I'm gonna create another folder called shot 01, and in this folder I'm gonna right click, go to cinematics and create a level sequence, and I'm gonna call it LS, like level sequence, shot 001. Okay, let's open it. So this is your sequencer here. Everything we're gonna do with camera animation gonna be in this. To add our camera to the sequencer, we can either drag and drop it from the outliner, Ctrl Z, either click on add actor track, and Cine Camera Actor 0. So there are two things very important here. The camera cuts, You have to see the picture here in the camera track, otherwise it will not render your camera. So for example, if these things disappear for any reason, you can add it again, camera cut track, and then you need to connect this camera to the camera cut track. So you click on plus, Cine Camera 0. You see, it added the camera cut back. That's very important, guys. Then our camera is here. We already processed our camera, but if we exit the camera and we are in the viewport, we can go straight see what's happening there by clicking this button. And then if you click again, you exit the camera. For the render, we're gonna create a very simple camera movement, just a front traveling like this. Our camera is locked, you remember? We clicked on right click, transform and lock actor movement. So what we need is to unlock it. First I'm gonna duplicate it so we keep the original location of the camera, we don't lose it. So edit, duplicate, and this one I'm gonna call it underscore backup, and we're not gonna use this one. But this one, the original one, we're gonna right click, transform, and uncheck lock actor movements so it can move. Otherwise we can put some animation keys in the sequencer, but the camera is not gonna move. So now it's unlocked. Let's create our first movement. I want to set a transform here. So here, this little lozenge you can see there is an animation key. So if you add it, it's gonna add the transform location of your camera. And the only thing we want to do is do a front traveling. So let's do another key. So the camera goes to one point from another. And there is two ways to move the camera now. So either with the two keys we added, we select the second one and we can move it straight here in the location. This is practical because you can tweak only one axis and you don't move the camera in other angles. So let's do it like this. We're gonna move the camera on the x-axis, and I think here is nice. We have to be very slow and smooth, otherwise it's not gonna look good. Okay, so once you move your camera, you add the key again. Now we can go back to the start and press space to play the animation. And here you go, it looks nice. Okay, I'm gonna delete the second one and show you how we can also move the camera to add another key. So basically you can just move the camera there. If I want to put it on the side, I move it and I add the key. And now you can see the camera moving there. I don't like too much this movement, it was just to show you that we can move the camera however we want. So I'm gonna delete it and I'm gonna do the first option again. So X, a traveling front. Alright, that's great. One thing you can notice is when the camera starts and when the camera ends, it slows down. So it's a bit too smooth. I want to have a shot where the camera is going at a regular speed and doesn't stop slowly before the end. So what we need to do is select the two keys we have here. And we right click. We change from cubic to linear. So linear is gonna make a movement, not slow down. Okay, I like it better. We can save, and congrats, you have done your first shot. I think this shot is a bit too simple. I want to make a really killer shot for you guys. So one thing we can do is extend a bit the length of the shot. So let's push it until 210 frames. It's gonna be a few more seconds. So here the camera is gonna stop. Either we can extend it, or either we can move the camera further. I'm just gonna extend it. It's a bit slow, but it's fine, no worries. I'm gonna save. And what we can do to make it really amazing, we can add the light, our sun here. So I'm gonna drag and drop the directional sun. And we're gonna add a transform because as you can see, there is no transform here. You can tweak the color, the intensity, but we don't care about this. We want to make a slight rotation of the sun, so it's gonna make the shadows move. That's gonna be beautiful. So I'm gonna delete those. I just want to make transform. Okay, let's add one key as it is in the current state, and let's add another key here. And then we're gonna tweak this key, so we're gonna rotate the sun a bit. Rotation. We can delete location and scale, we don't need them. We're gonna just keep rotation. So let's try. If we move the roll, what's happening? Nothing is happening. Okay, let's move the pitch. Okay, pitch is making the shadows move. Row also. Okay, I want to move the pitch. This seems to be the most nice movement. So from minus 23 degrees, let's try minus 40 degrees. Okay, if you click enter when you change the number, it's gonna update automatically the key. But I always like to be sure it updated with adding the key again. Alright, it looks not bad. I want to be sure there is no slowdown in the sun movement. So same as we did earlier, we select the keys and we change them to linear. So there is no acceleration. Alright, this looks really cool. I like it like this. Let's save everything. And now we are ready to make our first render. Alright friends, final step. We're gonna make the render using the MRQ, Movie Render Queue. So first check if everything is enabled in your project. So click on Edit, Plugins, and then you look for Movie Render. I don't have it enabled, so I'm gonna have to enable this, and we're gonna have to restart. Okay, back in Unreal, we're gonna open our scene again. And we're gonna go into Window, Cinematics, Movie Render Queue. And the only thing we have to do, either we drag and drop our shot, either we click on Render and we select it here. Right now you can see there is no configuration, so we're gonna click on it. And here we're gonna make a very simple, easy render. So let's click on Settings. Here are the settings you can add to make your visuals looks good, to make your render looks more qualitative. So we're gonna start by adding an anti-aliasing. For now this is enough, it's gonna make the render very simple for us. The first setting we can enter in anti-aliasing is the temporal sample count. There is two types of anti-aliasing and we can use both. So spatial is more towards still shots. Temporal is more towards shots with motion blur, shots with a lot of movement. So we're gonna use here 6 spatial count. Check override anti-aliasing here, but it says you have to have at least 8 samples, so let's put 8. The output is where you put the needed resolution. I want a 4K render, so I'm gonna do 1920 x2, 1080p x2. So now we have a 4K render. And what we can do, so we don't lose what we changed here, is click here and save the preset. So we do save as preset, we're going to sequencer, we can create a new folder called presets, up preset underscore simple 4K 8 spatial. Okay, let's save it, accept. And now we need to turn off our blockout meshes. So let's go to the blockout here. We're gonna select all of them and we're gonna type visible here and we're gonna uncheck visible. So they are gone now. Let's save it, save all. And let's try our first render, guys. Let's go, render local. Let's see how it works. Engine is warming up, and here we go. it works fine. So it seems like it's gonna take a few minutes in 4K, which is fine. We have 210 frames, which is like 7 seconds of animation. Alright, it seems to have gone very nice. Let's check it. So you go to the Unreal project folder, saved, movie renders, and here it is. Let's check the quality of it. It looks really fine, look at this. Very fine. I can see here some anti-aliasing we need to boost in the reflection. So this is gonna be the lumen settings, but otherwise it looks really nice. Look at this. I love the bloom here, the quality of the shadows. I'm really happy with this render. By the way, this is an image sequence, so you're gonna need to put it in DaVinci or Final Cut or Premiere Pro if you want to make a video out of it. We're gonna try one more thing, because in the Unreal 5.6 they just added a new feature which creates straight MP4 videos. So let's try it. Let's go back to the settings, and now we're gonna add H264 MP4. Let's try it. We're gonna deactivate JPEG. We're gonna even delete it. Let's save as a new preset. Preset simple, 4K spatial, MP4. Okay, accept, and let's try to render it now. Alright, the MP4 is rendered. It's in the same folder as the pictures. It looks nice. I see some issues with the lighting there in the rim. So we're gonna fix that now. So first thing we can try is to crank up a bit the roughness of the rim. Let's see if it does the trick. Let's open the material. And let's put the rim on 0.3. Alright, let's try the render again here. Okay, let's render it again. See, much better, there is no flickering anymore. Amazing. By the way, there is one thing you can do if you wait too much with the 4K render and you just want to check if everything is alright without having to render the whole video. So basically, either you can close the render in the middle, like I did. As you can see here, it only rendered like 4 seconds. Either you can, here in the settings, go to output, check use custom playback range, and then end frame you can put like 50 or 60, so it's gonna render only like 2 or 3 seconds. That's a good way to just check your render. Alright, it looks much better. I didn't check the reflection quality, if it increased. Okay, we still have some aliasing in the reflection, so let's try to make this better. After trying a few stuff to fix the reflection, the easiest settings I found is to simply increase the roughness in the material. So in the glass material, I put the roughness to 0.08 and it works well. I think you can do 0.07, it will work also. There is one thing, however, I really don't like, is how our floor looks like in the front. It looks like a bit muddy, a bit humid, and I don't really like the render of this. So I'm gonna go back to my camera. You know what, after tweaking a bit materials, I still don't like it, so what we're gonna do is simplify the foreground. I'm gonna select all of them. I'm gonna attribute a very simple floor mesh. Floor bead, I like it, it's very simple. And what I did is I chose the material of the walls, I duplicated it, I called it foreground, and I tweaked it a bit to lower the brightness. And here we go, much better like this, I like it. Let's save and do the final render. Uncheck this so it renders the full video, accept and render local, let's go. The render is done, let's check it. And it looks very nice. We can call it a day. Alright, that's it for today. I know Unreal can be a bit intimidating at first and the learning curve is steep. But keep going guys, you're doing great. The more you practice, the faster you're gonna learn. And you can be really surprised how fast you can create amazing scenes. If you want support along the way, come join the Discord channel I created. We can help each other grow, you can share your progress, and you can ask every question you have. So if you're serious about progressing in Unreal, come hang out with us, the link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you really enjoyed, and see you in the next one! So, this is practical, This is practical because you can... This is practical This is practical because you can